Hi there, this is Sandil. Welcome again. In this lesson today, we will be looking at a science lesson of grade 10. I know this is my first video on science, but I have put myself wholly into this lesson. Therefore, you need to remember that this is also like the other lessons. We will be just going through question and answers. So I have taken this lesson from grade 10 as I told you. It is a biology lesson. So we are going to look at animal cell and the plant cell, which is the basic functional and structural unit of the humans and other organisms. So therefore, what you need to do first before watching this video, you have to just go through the content. It is already on unit 6. Go through the content. For example, if you find out difficult words, then you can write it somewhere else and refer to the dictionary and get the meaning and pronunciation, because there are certain words that you cannot pronounce well. My recommendation is to go through the words that you find difficult, so that refer to the dictionary and get the meaning. Then the lesson is done halfway. Then how you can remember the things? This is very easy. Then you can watch my video from the beginning till the end. Once you go through my video, you will find different questions and answers. One thing you can do, you can just pause the video. For an example, once the question appears on the screen, you just pause the video and try to formulate your own answer and check your answer matches with mine. Likewise, you can go through the questions and answers. Try to build up your own answers when you find the question on the screen. And in this lesson, we will be looking at plant cell and the animal cell. In the plant cell, we have different organelles, different structures in the cytoplasm, and also we have different organelles in the animal cell. You will be able to find out four main differences between the animal cell and the plant cell, and also different organelles in the plant cell and the animal cell. I will introduce a word, typical cell, and you will have a clear idea about how you can form a typical cell, because this typical cell is very important. They have already prepared this typical cell for you to have a clear idea about the functions and the structures of different organelles in the animal cell or the plant cell. Therefore, it is very important. At the same time, once you understand what a typical cell is, you will be able to identify different organelles in the cytoplasm in the animal or plant cell. There are certain organelles in the plant cell and those organelles are not in the animal cell. There is a table about the differences between animal and plant cell. Before I just wind up my introduction, I would like to tell you that you need to understand that basic functions of different organelles in the both animal cell and the plant cell. Please take a piece of paper and a pencil, write down all the questions and answers. I hope by now you are ready for the lesson. Then let's get into the lesson. Structure and functions of the plant and animal cell. Let's look at the first chapter. Under the first chapter, we have the first question. Who introduced the cell theory? Schleiden, Schwann, and Rudolf Virchow. Describe the contents of the cell theory. The first one, the structural and functional unit of life is the cell. All organisms are made up of one or more cells. New cells are formed, pre-existing cells, and concepts of the cell. What is the smallest structural unit of the organization of the living body? Cell. What do you call the organisms composed of a single cell? Unicellular organisms. What do you call the organisms composed of many cells? Multicellular organisms. Cells perform different functions in the body. Give some examples. The first one, the transportation of oxygen is done by red blood cells. Transmission of impulses is done by neurons. What do you understand by this impulse? Impulse is a force or movement of energy that causes something else to react. Nerve or electrical impulses. Question number 5. As you can see here, this is a picture of some cells. Sometimes at the exam, you must be able to identify the type of cells provided in the exam paper. Therefore, I have given you this one. This is actually a picture taken from the textbook. So the question is, identify the type of cells provided below. What is the answer? The appearance of stained cheek cells through the light microscope. Let's look at the picture over here. And this is also same, there are some cells, and also this picture was taken from your textbook, grade 10. And the question, identify the type of cells provided below, actually not below, on the right. And it is the appearance of stained onion peel cells. Typical cell. Remember, typical cell, they have created an imaginary typical cell so that you can have a better idea about the functions of different organelles in a cell, either in a plant cell or an animal cell. Let's look at the first one. Actually, what is known as organelles? The small structures within the cell to perform different functions. And when you look at this picture over here, this is a picture of some cells. And as you can see here, cell membrane. Here we have this black color dot, the larger one, nucleus. And here we have cytoplasm. Let's look at the next question. What do you call the typical cell? Here is the answer. A cell prepared by including all the organelles is known as the typical cell. When I just went through the past exam papers, I noticed some of the questions which have already come under this section. You must be able to define what a typical cell is. Let's look at the third question. What are the parts of an animal cell when you observe it through a light microscope? And when you look at something, especially a tiny thing, a micro thing, you can use either light microscope or electron microscope. Next one, what are the parts of an animal cell when you observe it through a light microscope? The answer is cytoplasm, cell membrane and nucleus. Question number 4, what are the parts of a plant cell when you observe through a light microscope? You can see cytoplasm, nucleus, vacuole and cell wall. What are the features of an animal cell? All animals are covered by a plasma membrane or cell membrane. It is a live, semi-permeable membrane as well as a selective permeable membrane, allowing a liquid or a gas to pass through. There is a centralized nucleus in an animal cell. The cytoplasm is a gelatinous material. What are the features of a plant cell? The outer covering of the plant cell is the cell wall, which is made up of cellulose. Inner to the cell wall is the plasma membrane. At the center of the plant cell is a large vacuole. If you want to see the organelles that perform different functions, what microscope should you use? Obviously, we have to use electron microscope. What organelles of an animal can be observed through a light microscope? Actually, we can notice cytoplasm, cell membrane or plasma membrane, and nucleus. Next one. What organelles of a plant cell can be observed through a light microscope? You can see only cytoplasm, nucleus, vacuole, and cell wall. What organelles of a plant cell can be observed through an electron microscope? Ribosome, mitochondrion, Golgi complex, chloroplast. Look at this picture here. This is a picture of a typical plant cell using electron microscopic information. As you can see here, this is the vacuole. You see here, the liquid inside the vacuole is called the cell sap, and the membrane around the vacuole is called tonoplast. These two are regarded as vacuole. So remember, there are two parts of vacuole, cell sap and tonoplast. Here we have the cell wall. This is the cell wall. And here we have mitochondrion. Here we have chloroplast. And this is cytoplasm, endoplasmic reticulum. And these are all ribosomes. Here we have the nucleus. In the nucleus, you can find nucleolus. There are two or one. We have the outer covering of the nucleolus, nuclear envelope. So these two together are regarded as nucleus. And here we have plasma membrane. This is plasma membrane. I think you have a clear idea about different organelles that are present in a typical plant cell. Let's look at the next one. What are the subparts of a vacuole? It is very clear that this is a typical plant cell created using electron microscopic information. As you can see here, at the center you can find the vacuole. So in vacuole, there are two parts. We have the cell sap, which is the liquid part here inside, and tonoplast, which is the membrane, which is covering the vacuole, and these two together are called vacuole. Therefore, there are only two parts. They are cell sap and tonoplast.
A sep is the liquid in a plant and a membrane which bounds the chief vacuole of a plant cell. Now, what are the parts of a nucleus? Here we have nuclear envelope and nucleolus, a small dense spherical structure in nucleus. Next one. As you can see here, this is a typical animal cell created using electron microscopic information. Let's look at some organelles that we can find here and some parts of the animal cell. Here we have smooth endoplasmic reticulum. These are, we call them, and we have the cytoplasm, and here we have small dots. All these are ribosome and Golgi complex. This complex is called Golgi complex, and we have centriole, and we have plasma membrane. Here we have nucleolus, and here we have nuclear envelope, and these two together called nucleolus. And here we have rough endoplasmic reticulum because all these ribosomes are attached to it. And here we have the mitochondria. So this picture gives you a clear idea about a typical animal cell. The question, what organelles of an animal cell can observe through an electron microscope? You can see cytoplasm, ribosome, Golgi complex, mitochondrion, nucleolus, smooth endoplasmic reticulum, rough endoplasmic reticulum. Write four differences between an animal cell and a plant cell. Look at this table here. So here we have on this side animal cell, and also here you have all the content on the plant cell. So when you just remember the things in this table, you can have a clear idea about the differences between an animal cell and a plant cell. Let's look at the first one. The first one, we are talking about the cell wall. In animal cells, cell wall is absent. This is one difference. And in plant cells, cell wall is present. It's very clear. The first one, you must remember. And large content of it contains cytoplasm. In the animal cell, large content of it contains cytoplasm. But it is totally different in a plant cell. Cytoplasm is pushed towards periphery. The reason is why. Actually, there is a vacuole at the center of the plant cell. That is the reason cytoplasm is pushed towards the periphery around the vacuole. Let's look at the third difference. A large vacuole is absent. It is obvious. Sometimes few vacuoles, small ones, are present. But here in the plant cell, a large central vacuole or few vacuoles are present. And the fourth difference in animal cells, chloroplasts absent. Here we animals, we totally depend on other plants. Plants are called autotrophic. Therefore, in animal cell we cannot find chloroplast because this organelle is very important for photosynthesis, where all this chemical reaction is happening. Let's look at this one. In the plant cell, the opposite. Chloroplasts are present. Remember, these are the four differences between animal cell and plant cell. Let's look at the next one. Okay, cell organelles and structures present in a cell. The first one, cell wall. It is one of the structures of the cell. First one, describe the location of the plant cell wall. The outermost covering of the cell is the plant cell wall. What is the main constituent of the cell wall? It is obvious. Cellulose. Name three functions of the cell wall. Look at these three functions. The first one, it helps to maintain the shape of the cell. The second one, it supports the cell. Third one, it protects the cell. Plasma membrane, or we call it cell membrane. Look at this one. Describe the location of plasma membrane in a plant cell. Plasma membrane is present interior to the cell wall of the plant cell. What is the boundary of an animal cell? The boundary is the plasma membrane. What is the plasma membrane composed of? It is made up of phospholipids and proteins. What do you understand by a semi-permeable membrane? A semi-permeable membrane is a barrier that will only allow some molecules to pass through, while blocking the passage of other molecules. What things does the cell membrane allow to pass through? It allows the entry of water, ions, some molecules. Name a few functions of a plasma membrane. The main function of the plasma membrane is to enclose the cell. It controls the entry and exit of materials such as water, ions, and some molecules into and out of the cell. Cytoplasm. Which part of the cell is known as the cytoplasm? The gelatinous liquid part of the cell, excluding organelles, is known as the cytoplasm. Look at the second one. What organic substances are present in cytoplasm? Protein, glucose, simple sugars, polysaccharides, amino acids, nucleic acids, fatty acids, glycerol. What are the functions of cytoplasm? It maintains a shape to the cell. It helps to bear organelles. It carries out different metabolic processes. What do you understand by metabolic reaction? Here is the answer. Metabolism is one of the primary bodily functions that the system performs to optimize overall physical and mental health. What do you understand by organelles? The structures submerged in the cytoplasm are named as organelles. Give some examples of organelles which are surrounded by cell membrane: mitochondrion, nucleus, endoplasmic reticulum, Golgi complex. Nucleus. What is the main organelle in a cell? Nucleus. What do you call the membrane which surrounds the nucleus of a cell? The nucleus. How many nucleus are usually present in a nucleus? One or two? What do you understand by chromatin body in a nucleus? Chromatin refers to a mixture of DNA and proteins. What does chromatin body convert into during cell division? Chromosome. What is chromosome? Explain. A thread-like structure of nucleic acids and protein found in the nucleus of most living cells. What is the nucleic acid present in a nucleus? A complex organic substance present in living cells, especially DNA or RNA, whose molecules consist of many nucleotides. What is a nucleotide? A compound consisting of a nucleoside linked to a phosphate group. What are the three parts of a nucleotide? First one phosphate group and pentose sugar and nitrogen group. As you can see here, this is a structure of a nucleotide. So you see here phosphate group and here nitrogen base and here we have pentose sugar. Let's move on to the next one. What are the functions of chromosomes? They store of genetic material. They transfer inherited characters from generation to generation. What can you say about the number of chromosomes in a species of animals? The number of chromosomes is specific to a species. And next one, how many chromosomes are there in a human being? In humans, each cell normally contains 23 pairs of chromosomes for a total of 46. How many chromosomes are there in a frog and in a paddy plant? There are 26 chromosomes in a frog and 24 chromosomes in a paddy plant. What is the main function of the nucleus? The main function of the nucleus is the control of life activities of the cell. Mitochondria. What is the shape of mitochondria? It is of an oval or rod shaped. State whether mitochondrion is membrane bounded organelle. Yes, mitochondrion is a membrane bounded organelle who produces energy within the cell itself. Mitochondrion. What do you call the mitochondrion? It releases energy needed for the cell, the powerhouse of the cell. What is meant by aerobic respiratory reaction? A chemical process in which oxygen is used to make energy from carbohydrates, sugar, is called aerobic metabolism. Cell respiration, oxidative metabolism. They have the same meaning. What is the energy produced by mitochondrion used for? It is used for metabolic activities of the cell. What are the three main purposes of metabolism? The three main purposes of metabolism are the conversion of food, fuel to energy to run cellular processes, the conversion of food, fuel to building blocks for proteins, lipids, nucleic acids, and some carbohydrates, and the elimination of nitrogenous wastes. Now let's look at the next organelle, Golgi complex. What is the shape of Golgi complex? It is of sacks, stacked. Stacked means a pile of objects. As you can see here, this is this has different piles of sacks, and this is a picture of Golgi apparatus or Golgi complex or Golgi body. You can use any one of them. State whether the Golgi complex is membrane bounded. Yes, of course, the Golgi complex is a membrane bounded organelle. What is a vesicle? It is a small sac formed by membrane and filled with liquid. Vesicles inside cells move substances into or out of the cell. As I told you, this is Golgi complex, and as you can see here, these are small sacs, and they have already liquid inside. What they do, they just take the liquid, different substances in the sac, in a vesicle, into the cell or out of the cell. What is the secretory vesicle? The secretory vesicle is a vesicle that mediates vesicular transport of cargo, example hormones or neurotransmitters, from an organelle to specific sites at the cell membrane where it docks and fuses to release its content. What is the functions of Golgi complex? The production of secretory substances, packaging, secretion. Not secretion in biology, production and release of a useful substance by a gland or cell. Physiological functions such as neurotransmission or the release of hormones and digestive enzymes are all governed by cell secretions. Now let's look at this picture here. This is a picture of a ribosome. So this blue color, large one, is called large subunit. And this small one is called small subunit. These two together constitute ribosome. Let's look at the first question under ribosomes. What is a ribosome? Explain this structure. It is a small organelle without a membrane. Remember, without a membrane, it is made up of a large subunit and a small subunit. Where are the ribosomes found? They can be found freely in cytoplasm or attached to endoplasmic reticulum. What is the function of the ribosomes? Providing a place of protein synthesis. Now let's look at the next one. Endoplasmic reticulum. Describe the endoplasmic reticulum. It is an intermembranous network made up of flat tubular sacs within the cytoplasm. Name the two types of endoplasmic reticulum. The first one, rough endoplasmic reticulum and smooth endoplasmic reticulum. Now look at this picture here. Can you see small tiny black dots? They are ribosomes and they are attached to the endoplasmic reticulum. So they look rough. Therefore, we call them rough endoplasmic reticulum. And here, as you can see here, there are no ribosomes attached to. Therefore, this part or these parts are called smooth endoplasmic reticulum. You can have a three-dimensional view on endoplasmic reticulum. Next one, rough endoplasmic reticulum. Why do endoplasmic reticulum become rough? In the last slide also I explained because of the ribosomes attached to the membrane. What is the main function of rough endoplasmic reticulum? Remember this one. The function of it is the transportation of proteins within the cell. I highlight here proteins within the cell. Smooth endoplasmic reticulum. What is the smooth endoplasmic reticulum? I have given you already a picture of a smooth endoplasmic reticulum. It is a network of tubular sacs without ribosomes on the membrane. Here you cannot see any ribosomes attached to its membrane. But here you can see these small tiny dots. Actually, those are called ribosomes. They are attached to these rough endoplasmic reticulum. Next one. What are the functions of smooth endoplasmic reticulum? Synthesis of lipids, steroids. Steroids are designed to act like these hormones to reduce inflammation, to transport lipids or steroids within the cell. Vacuole. What is a vacuole? As you can see here, this is a vacuole in a plant cell. And here also this blue color part is the vacuole. And what is tonoplast? I already explained during one of the previous slides. The answer is it is a fluid filled large organelle found in plant cells which is surrounded by a membrane. It is a membrane bounded organelle. What do you call the membrane that surrounds the vacuole? Tonoplast. What do you call the fluid contained in the vacuole? Cell sap. What substances are found in cell sap? You can find water, sugar, ions, pigments. The pigments mean the natural coloring matter of animal or plant tissue. What is the difference between vacuole in the animal cell and the plant cell? Here it is. Generally no vacuoles found in animal cells. However, if found, they are smaller than the vacuoles in the plant cell. A contractile vacuole is a subcellular structure involved in osmoregulation. Osmoregulation means the maintenance of constant osmotic pressure in the fluids of an organism by the control of water and salt concentrations. It is found predominantly in unicellular algae. What are the functions of a vacuole? It maintains the water balance, support and provision of color to the cell by the pigments. Support and provision of color to the cell by the pigments. Here you have an animal cell and here is a plant cell. But here I'm not going to talk about the difference. I'm not going to compare the animal cell with the plant cell. Now you have a clear idea about what are the differences, what are the organelles that you can find in the animal cell and the plant cell, and also functions. We have covered everything that you need to remember as a student of grade 10 and grade 11. I think we have come to the end of our presentation. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you have a clear idea about the differences between animal cell and the plant cell, and also different functions of different organelles in the animal cell and the plant cell. If you enjoy this video, please subscribe to our channel and alarm the notification bell. Don't forget to share this video with your friends. This video has so much information about the plant cell and the animal cell, which are really important for you as a student in grade 10 and grade 11. Definitely help you to get good grades for your science. I look forward to seeing you in another video. Bye for now.